From NBC North Dakota News, the news leader, this is First News at 5 with anchor Monica Hannon. First Warn Weather with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lawrence. A special Health Tonight report from Robin Hubner. And Money Watch, daily financial news for you and your family. First News at 5 starts right now.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Hannon. We've had a scary afternoon here in Bismarck, Mandan. Sirens went off just before 2 p.m. and as the afternoon wore on, Bismarck went under a state of emergency. Sirens continued to go off repeatedly as the hours progressed. An emergency command center was set up at the Tom Baker meeting room with the police, the Highway Patrol, Burleigh County Sheriff's Department, and Public Works Department all involved in handling the emergency. Those sirens, as I said, went off repeatedly, and funnel clouds did touch down and do damage. Joining me now is Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lawrence to tell us more about what happened and what we can expect.
Well, I'll tell you what, we might be out of the woods for the most part with respect to the severe weather, but not completely. The threat has greatly diminished. That is some very good news. Now that the sun is getting lower in the sky, the instability factor is not quite as intense as it was earlier. I think the main threat for the tornadic storms that we've seen starting to diminish somewhat. Good news, but it does not mean we won't have some thunderstorms, possibly severe, over the next couple of hours. That is still most certainly a possibility. Let me go ahead and show you the First Warn radar and satellite here and give you an idea exactly what is happening here across the northern plains. Now, what we have here is an area of low pressure, and you can basically even see it here, even though it's not in motion, but the pinwheel motion here around the clouds, the way it's circulating, area of low pressure basically on top of Bismarck, the center of the area of low pressure, and storms continue spinning about over Bismarck and now west and north of the capital city. Now, why have we had some tornadoes for today? Well, we've got very cold air aloft in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, coupled with the fact that it's been relatively mild at the surface. That is adding some spin to the atmosphere, and we're getting these funnel clouds dropping down and occasionally touching the ground. Therefore, when it touches the ground, a funnel cloud becomes a tornado, producing the damage that we've had. So the cold air aloft, cold air over warm air, is an unstable environment, and it's been so unstable that we've had some of those funnel clouds reaching the ground and therefore becoming tornadoes. Here's a look at the First Warn radar. We can see the pinwheeling motion here, and most of the showers and thunderstorms from a Bismarck perspective are now north and west of Bismarck, still pinwheeling though in a counterclockwise fashion. So some of these storms might begin to wrap around closer to the Bismarck area once again over the next couple of hours, but I think now that we are losing some of the daytime heating of the sun, that the threat for severe weather is again greatly diminishing. So that is some very good news. Heavier showers north of the border in Canada, non-severe. Take a look at this. This is unusual, not only because it's November 1st, but because we've got tornado watches and winter storm warnings all here on the same First Warn map. And when I made this, I basically had the colors the same for tornado watches and winter storm warnings, because not very often are they going to be placed at the same time. But nonetheless, this watch box right here for west central Minnesota through Bismarck is a tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock this evening, Central Standard Time. Meanwhile, for north central and western North Dakota tonight, early tomorrow morning, there is a winter weather advisory. Earlier today, that was a winter storm warning. It now has been downgraded to a winter weather advisory. Northwestern South Dakota, a high wind warning is in effect, and for our viewers around Mobridge, South Dakota, a wind advisory for tonight. Wind advisory for this afternoon for the Fort Peck Lake area of northeast Montana, northeastern Montana, the extreme northeastern counties under a winter storm warning for tonight, and the blizzard warning continues for southeastern Montana for the overnight hours. So needless to say, it is a very active and volatile weather situation. Here's a look at the current conditions in Bismarck, 54 degrees, south wind at 10 miles per hour. Now in Williston, 34, north winds at 29, gusting to 35, Minot 46, northeast winds 20 to 35 miles per hour. Notice the atmospheric pressure here in Bismarck, 29.24 inches. That is very, very low pressure. And therefore, I think as the low kicks out of the region, very high winds will begin developing in the capital city over the evening. Meanwhile, again, light snow in Wilson. I'll show you that in just a moment. Dickinson 38, Sidney 34, and Mobridge cloudy with rain showers and 50 degrees. Now let's take a look at our Skywatch cameras beginning in Minot. What is happening in the Minot area right now with this live Skywatch view? Again, temperature at 46 degrees, well above freezing, but lots of fog and some rain showers. Meanwhile, for Williston, a different story. There is some light snow falling in northwestern North Dakota. A lot chillier, temperature at 34 degrees. Meanwhile, for the capital city, as we see here, still some showers and thunderstorms in the area. Milder temperature at 54. And for the Queen City in Dickinson, we are seeing a temperature at 38 degrees with cloudy skies. And again, it is very windy with winds in excess of 40 miles per hour at times. Let's go ahead and go back to the graphics here and show you exactly what is happening with respect to the amount of snow possible. 1 to 5 inches over north central and western North Dakota, most of which west of Bismarck. Heavier amounts back toward eastern Montana, the order of 5 to 10 inches. So I'll get to the forecast here coming up in just a little bit, but for the meantime, I want to toss it back here to Monica as you've got some video to show us of what's been happening for today.
And hang with me here, Kevin, and help me interpret this as we look at this video. This was shot by our photographer, Mike Kramer, south of Hawk Tree Golf Course, and I believe this was looking north toward the golf course. And this started out, right, as a cold air funnel?
Yes. From the way I understand it right now, and I have not been able to contact the National Weather Service to find out their input on this, but given this particular weather situation, when we have very cold air aloft and warmer air at the surface, usually that creates the spin in the atmosphere to produce these funnel clouds, often denoted as cold air funnels because of the cold air aloft. That's why they're called cold air funnels. Usually not associated with severe weather, but we've got such a difference in temperature between what's happening aloft and at the surface, and given the fact that very strong area of low pressure creating a dynamic lift into the atmosphere, we are seeing these funnel clouds becoming tornadoes and producing extensive damage. And of course you can't see the damage here from this perspective in the field, but as it crossed over into Bismarck, lots of damage, and I understand you've got more on that. So that's basically what's been happening during the course of the day in South Central North Dakota.
Okay, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. As he said, there is lots of damage around the capital city as a result of this storm. Jeff Grossclose was out this afternoon. He joins us now. Now, northwest of Bismarck, East Edmonton Drive, North Washington Street, that's where you were. You talked to some folks there. Were they surprised, upset, shocked? How did they react?
The people were surprised, shocked, upset, every one of those. One lady I even spoke to was almost in tears, and her house wasn't even hit. She lived down the street, didn't get hit by this, but she's walking around saying, I'm just happy, and I pray to God that nobody was hurt in this. Don't know if there were injuries or not, but she just says we hope that there aren't injuries. Other people couldn't believe it. They were in awe, just like we were when the sirens went off. The people that were involved in it were absolutely amazed. We have some video to show you that we took earlier up in northwest Bismarck. Those are, look at the clouds again. That was the look over, that was north of Bismarck. That's in North Bismarck on Brunswick Drive. A trailer got thrown up in an old man's yard, was totally trashed. Joy Harper was a lady that was there, saw and heard all this stuff, and this was her thoughts.
I'm standing on my front porch, taking down Halloween decorations, and I looked up and I saw a bunch of debris going around. And I didn't hear any noise, and then all of a sudden I heard the roar, and I watched the neighbor's camper go up in the air and his roof go off. So I went and called 911, and they came.
And they did show up. There was lots of cops and firemen that did respond to this. There's a look at a fence that was completely demolished and a swing set that was demolished as well. There were basketball hoops that were torn down, broken windows on apartments, as you see there. It was just a mess around town. There was garbage thrown everywhere, and a look at some framing that was down, people cleaning up in the background. And that's how it looked, Monica, up in the northwestern part of the town today. It was not pretty. And people were very, like you said, shocked, upset, surprised that the whole works as well as I was.
Unfortunately, not out and about in it, or serious injuries could have resulted.
Right, yeah, there was insurance people there checking into it already, and it was getting handled really well by people, though.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. Paul Stelzer was also out. He was in North Bismarck as well, and Paul is in our newsroom right now. Paul, how bad was the damage where you were at?
Well, indeed, in the area of Edmonton Street and North Washington Street, that was one of the hardest hit areas in all of Bismarck, not far from Brunswick Drive, which we just saw with Jeff's video there. But if we can take a look at some of the video from East Edmonton Drive, this was 133 East Edmonton Drive at northwestern Bismarck, and that's the home of the Deweys. Now, Mrs. Lisa Dewey was home alone. Her husband was hard at work at SSR Engineers when he got a call from Lisa.
I just got a call from my wife, and I was totally unaware that there was any kind of storms going on, and she said, "Our garage just went in, the car's under the garage," and I kind of questioned her a couple of times because I didn't know there was a storm, so I was caught off guard.
Foss lives 2 doors down from the Deweys at 121 East Edmonton Drive. Now here he is cleaning up debris that actually came from the Dewey residence.
Down in the lower level of my house, and of course I have a window that looks out to the south, and all of a sudden stuff was just flying by, and my house felt like it was lifting. And of course right away I headed for a corner because I knew what it was. I've had some experience with tornadoes in the past. It sounded just like a train. It looked like it was coming from according to what I saw out the window, from every direction because the stuff was blowing every direction. It was very unusual. I had stuff stuck in the side of my house and tore the gas meter right off the wall. My garage is full of insulation from the roof. It sucked it right out of there. My closets in the house, there's clothes scattered everywhere, but as far as I can see, there's no damage on the roof. So I don't know how that happened. It must have been from this section.
Now again, the theme kind of communicated by everyone in that neighborhood in northwest Bismarck today was a gratitude that no one was seriously injured. Obviously, some of that video speaks to some serious damage to property, but no human injury as of this point in terms of serious injuries. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Paul Sells, and let's go back to Monica.
Thanks a lot, Paul. And of course, we do feel very fortunate that there was, so far, reported only one injury, and that one does not appear to be serious. Darren Mark is standing by live in northwest Bismarck. We're going to go to him after this break.
You're watching First News at 5 with Monica Hannon and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lawrence. This is NBC North Dakota News, the news leader.
Well, people have had an hour or two now in the northwest part of Bismarck to digest what happened and to see how their houses are, what kind of shape they're in. Darren Mark is at that part of town. He joins us live now. He's talking with some folks up there. Darren, how are things up there right now?
Well, it's amazing, Monica. The tornado touches down. It doesn't hit most of the area, but it singled out this house, 603 Brunswick Drive at the corner of Overlook. It caused approximately $3,000 to $5,000 worth of damage to the house. Let's take a look at the roof. It punctured 2 large holes, now covered by tarps. It bashed out one of the windows in the front of the house, which we can't actually see because it's obscured by this trailer, which is probably the biggest disappointment. The tornado picked up the trailer. It spun it in a huge funnel, and at one point it actually rammed it against the side of the house, causing more structural damage. So it's been very heartbreaking for the homeowners here. Now, they were not home when all of this occurred at about 2:30 this afternoon, but they're here now. Craig Bleth is one of them. Craig, let's just talk about a little bit of this. Thanks for joining us. Now, you got a call from your wife, and what did she say at about 2:30?
Well, she said there was a tornado in North Bismarck, and she figured by the descriptions it was probably our house that took some of the damage, at least, anyway.
And when did you get home?
About 3 o'clock.
And what were your reactions when you saw this?
Well, they were fairly similar to how they were about a year and a half ago when we got hit by a big storm on June 25th of 99.
The windstorm, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But now it looks like it's a little worse with the trailer being destroyed and the structural damage on the side of the house.
Yeah, the damage inside the house is minimal. There's hardly any this time, so we're lucky that way. But we're with the help of friends and good insurance agent and good contractor, we're going to get the ball rolling to get the repairs done.
I bet you never thought this could have happened to you, did you?
Not again, anyway.
Yeah.
You might expect you deserve it the first time, but just certainly not the second time.
Well, good luck with repairing, and certainly all our prayers and hopes are with you. Thanks for joining us, Craig.
You're welcome.
Monica, back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Darren. When the tornado sirens went off, the Bismarck Public School System went to alert status and sent students and faculty to safe, secure areas of the building. And Cliff Naylor joins us now. He was covering that aspect of the story. Cliff, you were at the schools. What was going on there?
Well, if children ever question why there are fire drills, today was a good example of why they practice, and the practice paid off because kids did exactly what they were told to do. The faculty knew what to do, sent the kids to what they call tornado zones in the buildings. Those would be safe, secure areas. Let's roll the videotape. I was at Centennial School, and this is where one of the tornadoes touched down. This is a school in the north end of town, and The kids were sent to the basement sections of the school. They were crouched under desks and tables, as you can see here from this video. Parents who arrived to take their kids home were invited to stay at Centennial with their children, but no one was released until after school officials were given the all clear. Parents and faculty listened on radios to get information on the storm. There were a few scared kids, but there were lots of faculty, lots of parents there to calm the kids down and let them know that they were in safe, secure areas. Also went to a cathedral school where much of the same situation took place. The faculty herded the kids into the basement areas, the safe, secure areas, and then stayed with the kids until an all clear was given and then allowed them to go home. Parents were not allowed under no circumstances to take the kids out of the school until an all clear was given.
Actually, I think my understanding is that in some of the schools, parents were able to come in and they were invited to stay and to remain safe there, and so it wasn't as if you couldn't get into your child.
That's right. You could get in, as you saw from that video, but once you were in, the school wanted you to stay there with your kid. They didn't want kids being unaccounted for, as parents would take them out, and then when they went to look for a child, the child wasn't there.
Okay, thanks a lot, Cliff. Now, of course, we'll have a complete report from Cliff on how the schools reacted to today's emergency situation coming up a little later on our evening report. Now, let's go back to Kevin now.
Thank you, Monica. I do want to just go ahead and reiterate the fact that unfortunately, I didn't have much of a chance to analyze the meteorological charts for today, but I've been saying these have been cold air funnels, and the fact of the matter is I just spoke to the National Weather Service, and they thought, too, that these were cold air funnels earlier on, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But now, after doing some analysis in the atmosphere, we were in what they call a dry slot, not getting too technical here, but rather dynamic atmosphere, and we had the convection, the rising motion, and that, therefore, they were actual tornadoes, not just cold air funnel clouds reaching the ground, but real bona fide tornadoes. Making that even more unusual? Making it even more unusual. I spoke to Dan Noah from the National Weather Service. He's the warning coordination meteorologist out there, and he's saying of the tornadoes on a Fujita scale, these were ranked as either F0 or possibly even F1. They're going to be assessing the damage coming up over the next day or so. But I briefly do want to mention the tornadoes that have been officially logged in the National Weather Service. So far in the Bismarck area, 42 homes have had minor to moderate damage in the Bismarck area, and there have been 5 tornadoes. Quickly, one going across North Bismarck from 155 until 205, and then from 230 to 340, 7 miles north-northwest of Bismarck to 14 miles southeast of Center, and then from 305 to 320, a tornado 3 miles west-southwest of Welton to 10 miles northwest of Welton, and from 343 to 405, tornado 3 miles east of New Salem to 6 miles west-northwest of New Salem, and finally from 358 to 445, a tornado 8 miles southwest of Mercer to 5 miles south of Underwood. So let's go ahead and take a look at the radar. I'm not going to do the full weather report at this point in time, but I do want to show you the radar in motion and show you what we have going on. Still some showers and storms from north of Bismarck toward Beulah, and then east of Dickinson, still pinwheeling about in a counterclockwise fashion. So I'm not sure how we are on time here, but I'll come back a little bit later on the news here to give you more.
And I see from the latest information that you have there that you just received that there are actually now reports of 2 minor injuries, unfortunately minor.
And just minor injuries, and that's the good news.
All right, thanks a lot, Kevin. We're going to be back with much more news on this coming up. Now, there were a number of reports of tornadoes west of Mandan near the refinery and the Seven Seas Convention Center. Brenda Skolton is in the newsroom with more on that. Brenda?
Thanks, Monica. One of the threatening storm masses today was west of Mandan. That was the site of a lot of activity. Let's roll that video. This footage was taken west of Mandan off of Highland Road, just west of the Seven Seas, shortly after the tornadoes had been spotted near the refinery. And as you can see, it looks like the tornadoes had gone back up into the sky, and the clouds at this point are simply rotating. And the system at that time had been reported to have moved towards New Salem, and eyewitnesses in New Salem say the system did produce tornadoes there as well. And I should also note that while we were on the streets of Mandan, there was very little traffic, people apparently taking shelter and not taking any risks. Reporting live from the newsroom, back to you, Monica.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda. We're going to go to a break now. When we come back, we'll have a report from an eyewitness. Well, today's tornado took a lot of people by surprise. Even with emergency sirens sounding and the appearance of tornadic activity, people were confused by what was happening all around them.
funneling around up in the sky, but it didn't look like a tornado. That wasn't my first thought. But it was definitely funnel-shaped and just debris swirling around, and my first thought was the neighbor's house was on fire. It looked like black pieces of shingles up in the air, and I thought, geez, the wind's taking pieces of his roof up in there. And then just real quickly, it skipped to the house behind us and went to the northwest. And still, I didn't have a feeling it was a tornado because it was so nice outside. And I walked out in the backyard and walked out in the front yard and thought, what's going on? And then a neighbor called me who had my son and said, there's a tornado.
A feeling, I think, that was shared by a lot of people in and around Bismarck, Mandan today. We'll be right back.
Downtown Dickinson.
Once again, let's go to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lawrence in the Weather Center.
Thanks, Monica. Let's go ahead and recap what's happening. And first off, there is no severe weather taking place for the time being. No tornado warnings. That is certainly good. And now it looks like with these tornadoes, the threat is greatly diminishing. And it looks like most of the energy is now going to be going toward the Red River Valley. Here's a look now at the watches, warnings, and advisories. Officially, that red box over North Dakota is a tornado watch box until 8 o'clock Central Standard. Central and western North Dakota tonight, there is a winter weather advisory, blizzard warning for southeast Montana, winter storm warning for northeastern Montana and northwestern South Dakota, a high wind warning. So there's a look at it, and I'll have much more coming up on the evening report, Monica.
Okay, thanks a lot. Now let's head to the NBC North Dakota newsroom to find out what we've got coming up on the evening report at 6.
Monica, as you can imagine, the newsroom is still busy gathering information on today's tornadoes and storms and all the damage that took place. We'll have the latest tonight. We'll have team coverage. Plus, what in the world would you do with over 400,000 pennies? Well, one local group puts it to good use. We'll tell you what they're going to do. Be sure to join us for these and other stories, sports, and our forecast tonight at 6 on NBC North Dakota News.
Thanks, Jim. And thank you all for joining us. Be sure to join us again at 6 for the evening report, up to the latest reports on the weather and also other news of the day. But now here's Tom Brokaw with NBC's Nightly News.